Welcome to Stupid Money. Not that money is stupid. Most of us would love to have more of it, but sometimes we make stupid decisions with it. You don't have to. This is the show that unpacks how to stop making stupid decisions so you can be smarter with your money and have a happier, fulfilled life. Join us today as we look at real estate. Buyer's Guide. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Stupid Money. I'm Diana, and I'm here with John and Vivian. And John, how about you share something we tend to do with our money that's stupid and crazy?
Not returning a tithe of my income.
Oh, that's deep.
It is, but I believe it's a matter of simple honesty with God.
Vivian, what about you?
Spending too much money on the latest fashion.
Girl, burn.
How do you know that?
You gonna be digging some?
No, I'm not gonna go any further.
Let's not for that one. Our episode today is all on buying a house. And for most people, that's a big decision. I'm spending more money than I've probably ever spent before.
As a matter of fact, in buying a house, you make your money when you buy, not when you sell.
Ooh, now that seems like counterintuitive. You say I'm spending money, and yet that's when I'm making my money?
You make your money when you buy, not when you sell.
Okay, so let's unpack that. But before we do that, why don't we hit the streets and discover what people had to say on buying a home?
What three things do you look for if you're gonna buy a house?
Location, location, location.
Why?
Because the quality of the experience when you live in a house has to do with where it is. And of course, location means different things to different people. You want good neighbors, you want convenient access to things you are interested in. We hope there's a little culture. We hope it's something you can afford. So we hope it's something you can sell if you need to.
The location, the price, and amenities that come with the house or the apartment.
Number one, location. Number two, quality of the schools. Maybe not necessarily in this order. And number three, is this house the appropriate size? Is it going to fit my family? Is it going to fit our needs as a family?
When should I rent a house or buy a house?
It depends mostly on your job. If you have a stable job, I think buying a house will make a lot of sense because you're going to be living there for quite a while.
I would say it depends on the age as well. Sometimes when you're young, I think you should rent the house first because you don't know exactly where you want to be. But when you settle down with your age and everything, I think maybe it's time for you to buy the house. And I would say the economy is very important.
If you got the bucks, buy now while the market's still cool. 10 years from now, it could shoot up with inflation again. That's what happened to me. I bought way too high. My house, I'm not going to recoup it. I'm stuck, If I would have bought, say, 3 years later, I would have been fine.
I want to come to you for advice. And I want to buy a house through a realtor or an individual. What would you advise me?
Well, I'm trained not to give advice. But if I'm going to give advice on that, it depends a whole lot on how much you know.
My personal feeling is to go through a realtor, leave it up to the professionals. Unless you happen to be an expert in the field yourself, I don't want to mess with it.
I would advise you a realtor.
Why?
Because a realtor has experience in the industry. They know the ins and outs, and they know what's best for you based on your budget and based on your needs. So they could get something that fits what you're looking for.
So John, what did you think of the responses? Do you think they were right on?
Seemed like most of them preferred a realtor, but I think they just don't want to deal with the process.
Can you blame them? Think about your experiences.
Okay, you got me. But they don't have as much fun as I do.
You probably fun.
Right. So, but John, I'm really intrigued by what you said earlier, that we make our money when we're buying, not selling.
Let's try a few stories to see if we can unpack that.
Oh, let's do.
First house I ever bought, I decided to get everything I possibly could get. So I had a swimming pool, big garage, big house, I mean fireplace, a big yard. It didn't turn out quite so well. I didn't have any money to maintain that. I had 2 mortgages.
So it sounded dreamy, but you couldn't keep up the dream.
So I didn't really make any money when I bought that house. I just paid too much. So when I sold it, we just don't want to go there.
And my experience was just the opposite. Small house, fixer-upper, no fireplace, barely anything. But we fixed it up. We put in new carpet. We painted the walls a neutral color. We painted the outside a neutral color. We put in storm windows. Just did a lot of things to it. So when we sold that fixer-upper, we made a lot of money on it.
Oh, wow.
So that is what he's talking about.
You bought it right.
So he bought a dreamy that he couldn't maintain. You bought a starter
Yes.
that you could make money off of.
I probably was not as happy as he was, but nonetheless, in the
eventually you were
end, I was happier.
Now, how long did you keep that house?
We were in that house for 6 years.
6 years. I bought a house. I was standing in front of it, beautiful trees. I actually said, God, is this house the one you want me to buy? I'm going to do it. I don't know. It meets all my criteria. And I bought the house, and the guy said to me right there, he said, if you ever want to sell it, I'll buy it back. And that's when I first implemented this principle in buying real estate. You make your money when you buy. Now, I only lived there a couple of years, and so I called him up, sold it back to him, and I was glad to just live there rent-free. He bought it for what I bought it for. So it was a good deal for each of us. I probably could have sold it for a few thousand more, but I'd had to go through all the process of a realtor or selling it by owner, and he was right there. So the longer you're in a house, the chances are you can do even better. But if you're there just a short time, I bought it right, and I was glad to have a place to live free.
So am I getting this right? The reason that you're saying that we make our money when we buy a house is if we buy it right, whether we make money when we sell it or whether we make exactly what we paid for it, you're building home equity.
It depends on the length of time that you're in the house.
Because in your case, even though you sold it for what you paid for it, was basically rent-free.
Rent-free. Even in a soft economy, if you buy that house right, you'll be okay. But it's not easy to do.
So what are some ways to avoid being tripped up in purchasing a home?
Sometimes you can. It's just impossible. But if you have home inspection, then you will eliminate a lot of the problems.
That's for sure. I bought a house one time out in the country, and there was 2 feet of snow on the ground. When the snow went away, I discovered that the septic system was leaching out of the ground, and there was water underneath the house. You don't want any of that. I would have never bought that house if I'd had an inspection.
Good point.
And then there are a couple of more things. You want to read the contract carefully, very carefully, when you're buying a home. And then the other principle, which is you want to make sure that you can qualify for that home on one income, not on both you and your spouse, but just on one.
Why is that?
It's because suppose one get laid off, then you still have the security of that income to make that mortgage.
Wow, these are all some really good points.
One more point on the 2 checks.
Yes.
If you might not live in as nice a home, but you'll still have it. 2 checks and something happens, you lose it all.
With that in mind, there's more to come. Stay tuned after this break.
Hi there. On today's Money Hack, we're going to look at a couple ways to save money on breakfast. First, we're going to look at the price difference between generic and name brand cereal and milk. Then, we're going to look at the price difference between cold cereal from a box and hot cereal from scratch. Does the most important meal of the day provide an opportunity to save some bucks? Let's find out. For starters, let's see how much I spend on a bowl of brand cereal and milk. Nowadays, people drink all kinds of milk: almond, rice, soy, and good old-fashioned cow's milk of various fat contents. My favorite is soy, so I'm gonna look at that one. A box of brand name cereal is about $4, and name brand soy milk approximately $3.50. That comes out to be $1 for cereal and 44 cents for milk. Our grand total is $1.44 for a bowl of cereal. A box of generic cereal runs about $2.30 and generic brand of soy milk approximately $2.70. That comes to be 58 cents for cereal and 34 cents for milk. Our grand total for this bowl of cereal is 92 cents. Now let's see how that compares to making hot cereal from scratch. Some oats will cost me about 10 cents. Add some raisins, 20 cents, brown sugar, 5 cents, and a half a cup of generic soy milk, 17 cents. And my morning bowl of oatmeal costs 52 cents. Obviously, a lot depends on the ingredients you use and the grocery store you shop at. But in general, making breakfast from scratch saves over making it from a box of cold cereal, especially name brand cereal, almost $1 difference. And consider this, if you could save $1 a day for a whole year, that's $365 in your pocket. That may not seem like a ton, but check this out. Let's say you invest that $365 into a Roth IRA retirement account every year for 35 years. Based on a conservative historic interest rate of 7%, after 35 years, that account would be worth $53,988, and that's tax-free. So next time you sit down to eat breakfast, think about the 50 grand and ask yourself if there is a way you can save money and still eat well. It might be easier than you think. Thanks for joining us on today's Money Hack.
Location, location, location. It's very important when buying a home, but there are other things to consider as well. Now let's join Dave and Cousin Luke in Stewardship for Dummies.
Cousin Luke, so good to see you. Tell me, what have you been up to lately?
The missus and me thinking about getting a bigger house. The old homestead's starting to get too small.
So, what town do you live in?
Toadsuck, Arkansas, and folks, that is a real town.
I've never heard of Toadsuck. Tell me, where is it?
It's a twisted, dense thicket of vegetation there in Arkansas. And in case you are wondering, no, we do not suck on toads.
So, Toadsuck, is it a large city or a small community?
Oh, it's a small community. Population 9.5.
9.5?
Yeah, Cousin Cindy Sue, she ain't had her youngin' yet.
Okay, but you know, something to keep in mind before you buy is the location.
Yeah, I heard that before, and that's why I want to stay in Toadsuck. It's world famous.
How is Toadsuck world famous?
Oh, Toadsuck got top honors for having the most unconventional city name.
Well, I agree with that.
And second, it's also known as the place that toothpaste was invented.
Toothpaste? Invented in Toadsuck?
Yep. Then invented anywhere else, it would have been teeth paste.
Teeth paste.
What, are you hard of hearing?
No, I just do not understand how we went from talking about buying a house in Toadsuck to now we're talking about teeth paste.
Well, you're the one asking the questions.
Well, in that case, let me ask you another question.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you have any money in the bank?
Sure do. I'm saving up for a vacation to the Everglades in Louisiana.
The Everglades are in Florida, not Louisiana. The bayous are in Louisiana.
Oh, whatever.
Have you ever thought about using the money you've saved as a down payment for the house?
Then what would I do for a vacation?
Well, that's a choice you just have to make.
I guess I could go and ask for a loan.
Yeah. Where do you bank?
Toadsuck Last National Bank.
Last National Bank? What happened to the First National Bank?
They ran out of money when they were down at the river watching the water go by.
Well, that's when they opened the Last National Bank?
Yep. Do you know what? There's sure a lot to think of when buying a house.
Yeah, and I really hope you'll take time before you make that choice.
I will, because I only want the best in our family.
Okay. And you think Toadsuck's the best town to live in?
Yep, sure beats the other towns I was considering.
What towns is that?
Stinking Day and Gooler Town.
You made the right choice.
Our next guest, Marcus, lives in Idaho, not far from Boise. He's an artist with a unique perspective. Join us for our interview with him right after this break.
I'm John Matthews. This is Stupid Money, and I like to find out how people spend it. If you go to Mountain Home, Idaho, you'll find an art studio. It's called Lionheart Studios. Marcus Mashburn is the owner, and he's the artist. Welcome to our interview.
Hey, John. How you doing?
I see that I'm doing good. There's a lot of artwork here. When did you start painting?
Well, pretty much almost since I was born. I was like about 3 years old when I first started drawing.
What did you draw your first art on?
The first thing I remember drawing was on my coffee table in my mom and dad's house, and I just remember like just my mom would bring home computer paper, and then I would always be drawing on the computer paper. But I was just like 2 or 3, so that's like the first thing that I remember. Actually, drawing is the first thing I ever remember doing.
Did they like what you drew on the coffee table?
Well, we still have it actually. I actually drew the presidents. I remember, like I drew like about 10 different presidents, and you can tell who they are.
That's cool. So over the years, you've grown, and now you have your own studio. How many paintings have you painted?
Thousands.
Thousands. Where have they ended up?
Well, mostly in magazines and books. I'm an illustrator, so that's what I do for a living. I do a lot of murals. Pretty much, I'm an artist in a small town, so I pretty much am very creative. I mean, I get a lot of work from a lot of different places, so I just kind of do what they ask, I guess, but I mean, mostly I like to do Christian work for book covers and magazines.
Well, we're in this pretty good sized studio. How did you get to this point in this building here?
Well, as far as the studio's I've been working on for about 20 years, building it. But it's just taken a lot of work, and just kind of slowly. I'm kind of like a train a little bit. I just kind of go in a direction, and then I just kind of stay the course, I guess.
So you get up every day, and how long does it take you to go to work?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. So you live right here.
Yeah, well, I live, and my house is just really close. It's only about 50 feet away from here.
Let me switch gears on you a little bit. We're talking about I want to find out about your philosophy of financial management. And this episode is on buying a house. So you've built this studio, and you live in a house real close. Did you buy it?
Well, actually, with the house, I actually traded 2 paintings for the house.
Oh, so you didn't actually do a financial transaction. This person loved the paintings, and so they said, here's the house.
Well, she's a friend of mine from high school, and I had interest in her house, and she wanted some paintings, so that's what we did.
So you don't always have to pay cash or get a loan to buy a house.
I prefer actually to do trades. Actually, I just had somebody out working on my septic tank, and we traded one of my paintings. And then they're actually going to put a new leach field out there. I don't know if you want to know this, but we're going to trade. He has big equipment, and he fights firefighters. He's a firefighter, and he has this equipment out on the fire lines. He's got this beautiful picture of like Bennett Mountain in the background with his equipment, with the fire raging, and it'd be a beautiful painting. So I'm going to do an original painting for the septic work.
Okay. You've told me that you have built this studio a little bit at a time. Have you ever thought about taking a bigger loan and let's just get it all done?
No way. Now, I remember I was at a Promise Keepers convention, and the speaker said, never buy a new car. That's good advice, because, because if you don't own it, I mean, if it's on credit, then that's money that you haven't earned yet. You're depending on variables that you're not in control of to pay it. But I think that my theory is always to be within your means, I guess, is to just take small steps in a direction, your goal, and that's the way I've always done it. I mean, the studio's just been a little bit at a time over the years, but I just like to stay in a direction. I don't like to be in circles, I guess. I like to go in a direction, and I'm very goal-orientated that way.
Should I get a loan?
No, never get a loan. Oh, no.
How about getting a loan to go to art school?
I mean, financial aid. Yeah, I mean, I had to take financial aid. It took me until I was 30 to pay it off, too. So.
Okay, so you've had some loans.
Yeah.
But you paid them off, and you worked hard to do that.
Exactly, exactly.
While we're talking about buying a house, you're introducing a different kind of philosophy. And I want to talk about that philosophy a little bit. So as we talk about finances, how did you start out with this idea of maybe bartering? Is it because you didn't have money, or is it just a way of thinking?
Well, I'm an artist, and I guess that what I would tell a young artist is that if you want to pursue something that you really want to do, that you put that as one of your top priorities. Mm-hmm. I mean, just running out and buying a new car seems like something like a lot of people, young people do. I was 40 before I had a new car. Mm-hmm. I worked on my career, I guess, and I worked hard. I worked 80 hours a week, always have.
So early on, you set some goals for your career. You had some goals on how to manage money, or let me ask you this, is money that important?
Not really. It's just a way to pay the bills. I mean, money is just, to me, it's not the end all be all, but it is necessary to survive, of course. But I have a wonderful life. I'm a very happy person.
Mm-hmm. You know, before we started this interview, you were telling me about some famous painter, and you have the kids around. You said, "Oh, John, I live in heaven." Can you unpack that for me?
Well, the famous painter is Frank Frazetta. I love Frank Frazetta. And actually, art history is something that I live in books, because I'm from a small town. So if you look at my bookshelf back here, there's just hundreds of books, and I know all of them. You could flip a page open from across the room, and I'll tell you who did it, you know, and a story about him. But Frank Frazetta was surrounded by his kids at his easel, and he described that scene, you know, and I kind of pictured that when I was pretty young, of Frazetta surrounded by his children painting. And that to me was kind of the iconic, the most, I guess, the coolest kind of environment, or the way I wanted to live.
So early on, you've made some pretty major decisions that have affected you throughout all these years.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Let me ask you this question. Do you have any debt?
Some mild debt, mostly because of hospital bills. But other than that, not really, no.
So you're very careful with the finances that you have?
Extremely careful, yes.
Yeah. Okay, got a question. What's the craziest thing you've ever done with your money?
With my money?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, I don't know. I remember one time when I first was out of art school, I had to make a living, you know, so I started doing caricatures, but I borrowed $750 to buy a booth at the Western Idaho Fair. And the funny thing is I had never done caricatures. So I just took a chance, you know, and it turned out I was the only caricature artist, and it came pretty natural, and it's something that worked out.
So you were off and running. You took a chance on that $750.
Oh yeah, totally.
Another question. You've never really placed a tremendous emphasis or have money as a goal. Why is that?
Well, Solomon said that 1 in 1,000 men are happy. Mm-hmm. And I want to be the 1 in 1,000. And I find that being able to paint for a living makes me happy. And also that I can help others. And I'm a lot stronger of a person when I'm helping other people. And I think that is the key to my success, is just doing artwork.
Thank you, Marcus, for taking a few minutes to talk to us about how God's blessed you in your ministry and how He has increased your talent in becoming a wonderful artist. If you want to see more of the artwork by Marcus, go to marcusmashburn.com. I'm John Matthews. This is Stupid Money. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Stupid Money. Talk about someone who made a radical decision to live within his means.
Absolutely. You know, everybody does their real estate decisions just a little bit different. I can kind of identify with this guy. I bought a double-wide mobile home, and different color carpet in every room. The ceiling was stained with cigarette smoke. And I mean, it was about to fall down. And I wanted to put some great big words on the front of that called Sugar Shack. But my wife thought it might be advertising the wrong kind of sugar. But anyway, I bought it right, and we painted it, and we put carpet in it, and a guy came along on a Saturday night when I got ready to move, and he paid cash for it. I made money on that.
Really? On the Sugar Shack?
On the Sugar Shack.
So what was the takeaway from that?
Well, you still make your money when you buy.
That's right.
Not when you
That's
sell.
our key point. What else could be takeaways from our episode today on buying a home?
Well, you want to sum it up?
Yes, please.
All right. First of all, you must get an inspection on that property that you want to buy. Read your contract very carefully. Look at qualifying on that loan on one income. And last but not least, location, location, location.
You know, I like that. I can't help it. I'm a preacher. There's a text, John 14, 1-3. And in that verse, God says, I'm going to prepare a place for you. I've read and studied this enough. He's going to build us a house. And it's not going to be for sale, and it's not going to be sold. It's going to be given to us. But what I like more than anything else is not the house, but he says, you're going to have a special place with me. That's more important than a house, even in heaven.
That's beautiful. Thank you again both for sharing all your tips and all the fun things that we had on today's episode. And let's not forget, while we're house hunting, we have a place in the heart of God. Plan on joining us again for another episode of Stupid Money.